In 1953, Dwight D. Eisenhower had just become president of the United States. The DNA double helix had just been discovered, and the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II had just been broadcasted, marking the beginning of a new age in media. And Little Galilee began as a dream, and through the prayers of ministers who saw the benefits of Christian camping. From 1953 to 1955, funds were raised. Volunteer labor was devoted, and work took place to construct the grounds and the initial facilities on the 28 acres donated from the Reeser family. It began simply with a vision. Pastors and lay leaders imagined a place where young people could grow in their faith away from the noise of everyday life, where the gospel would not just be heard in words, but in the wind through the trees, the crackle of campfires, and the joy of new friendships. And finally, on June 19th, 1955, Little Galilee hosted its first week of summer camp with 65 campers in attendance. Later that summer, another 22 campers attended the second week of summer camp. Church camp hosts so many fun memories, but has always been more than fun and games. It is a meeting place between heaven and earth, a place where decisions are made, lives are changed, and callings are discovered.
My first time here on this grounds was before there was actually even a camp here. The land had just been donated, and I came down here one day with my dad, my uncle, and my older brother, and they were cutting some trees down around this area somewhere so they could get around and build a dam or work on the dam or something like this. My dad was one of the early pioneers of the camp, and he was an electrician by trade. And he come down and I helped him, or at least tagged along on some of the early wiring. I remember him putting some wiring on the old dining hall. I remember stringing some light struck fixtures and stuff from the trees actually, and digging some holes and putting these big utility poles in. And that is a memory that still sticks with me after certainly 60 plus years. But there have been other good memories also.
My best memory at Little Galilee was whenever I went to day camp and we got to go swimming and we got to just learn about God.
I remember that once you got into high school, you could come out to Little Galilee and be a work girl. And the work girl back then was kind of like what the college kids do now, except we were younger and we weren't paid. And it was all for fun, and it was fun. We helped serve. They used to serve it family style, and so everybody would sit at the tables, and then we would fill their bowls up, and then the kids would come in to eat. And then when they wanted more, they would just hold their bowl up, and we would run, and then we'd go fill it up, and then, and so that was a wonderful memory that I have of being the work girl at Little Galilee.
Well, my best memory at Little Galilee is most definitely just experiencing camp for the first time. My high school experience brought me questions, and I wanted to know what is my next step. And so coming to Little Galilee made me confident in my next step to go into ministry, go to Lincoln Christian University to study preaching and to win hearts for souls for Jesus. So
my favorite memory at Little Galilee would be being baptized. I came out here, it was my second year as a camper, and being baptized in the old pool, and that is my greatest memory, is being a child of God.
I think like a lot of people who grew up in church, I knew God and I knew the stories. But it was on a pile of mulch doing a morning devotional that I truly met God for the first time. So that's my favorite memory.
I worked here in 1983 and 1984 when I was in college. We lived in a mobile home, and we were at that time of the year when we were telling the days of the week by what we were having in the cafeteria. And so we were a little tired of what we were serving in the cafeteria, so we decided to have a camp staff dinner at the mobile home. And Jean and Isabel Johnson were still here, and so they came out to it too. And it was funny because we had anything that was not on the menu in the cafeteria, and one of those things was this Jell-O salad with applesauce and 7-Up in it. And Isabel was so funny. She just went on and on how zingy this salad was. And before the end of the dinner, she was singing, "Oh, you ain't got a thing if you ain't got that zing." That was a fun time for all of us.
I got this jacket in 1971. It was my first year at Little Galilee. And I was the honor camper of the week. And so I won a sweatshirt, this jacket, and a free week of camp the next year.
Best memory was making lots of friends and accepting Jesus Christ. And that was over in the old Vesper area in front of the lake. That's where I went forward. And we didn't be baptized at camp then. We had to go home to do that. But that was my best memory. And I'll take that with me forever.
None of it would be possible without the faithful counselors, volunteers, and staff. They've poured out their time and their prayers and their hearts into every camper. They haven't just been mentors, they are living sermons of God's incredible work being lived out each and every day.
Well, the camp has impacted my faith because it was here at this camp that God reaffirmed for me that I was being called to be a preacher. There's something about getting away from the everyday life and even for kids, school and all that. You get away from all that, and it was here that I really could listen and hear.
Growing up, I realized that I needed a place to find out who I was outside of my church. Growing up, my mom works in our church, so it's just kind of hard to really dig into who I was without other people really knowing who I was. And so camp was a perfect place for me to do that. As a camper, as a family group leader, and as summer staff, I was really able to dive into who I was and how I can really grow as a person and in my faith.
Little Galilee has impacted my faith journey because and how I went from being a camper to a faculty member for many, many years. And then I had my little ones, and now they get to come and feel the impact of this place on their little day camps right now. But and I get to see the light that it brings to them, and we get to continue the legacy that is Little Galilee.
The special weeks that I remember was the Life Recruit Week, and we were challenged to give our lives fully into service for specialized Christian service and go to Bible college, and so that's what I did. The Spirit of God is here. Anytime I come here, I feel the Spirit of God, and I am so thankful that my family, who's not any different than any other family, but we've had lots of opportunities to serve God here over the years.
Generational faith is a term that I've learned as a response to the faith of my family as a whole, between our church involvement, but especially as Little Galilee has influenced every single summer for all of these years. We moved away for a period of time, and now that we're back, my children and my husband have also been able to enjoy the faith journey that Little Galilee helps us to progress with.
The impact of Little Galilee Christian Assembly on me is manifested in so many ways, of sitting around tables studying scripture with friends and someone from perhaps Lincoln Christian College at that time to teach, and the campfires, heard challenging messages about ministry and going into ministry. In fact, it's here at Little Galilee that I committed myself to full-time ministry, and I've never regretted that decision since.
My life has been impacted by Little Galilee. I always loved coming out here for camp ever since I was really little, all the way up through college and working as a lifeguard here and being helping at different camps.
I think also just from being the camp being just so much part of nature, I really feel like I can commune with God. I mean, I can commune with God anywhere, but you know, it just seems really more special at a place like Little Galilee, where there's so much nature around, so much greenery and the animals and the pond and everything. You remember teenage years. I would go down and sit by the we used to call it the lake, but I guess it's technically a pond, but and just kind of commune with God there, pray. And so that was always a special place. So
I actually first accepted Jesus into my heart when I was a camper at Little Galilee. I think I was around 10 years old. And so obviously that was a huge piece of my faith journey. And then when I came back to work as a staff member, I just feel like I fell in love with God all over again. Just being here, being constantly surrounded, just everything, God's beauty and everything that's here at the camp. And now my daughters actually attend camp here, and I just hope and pray that they fall in love with Jesus here just like I did.
The camp has influenced me a lot in those decisions and keeping me steadfast when there's times that I think, why am I here? And then I think of all those people who don't know Jesus. So keep on hanging on and keep on sharing your faith.
I would say Little Galilee has impacted my faith journey through a lot of different ways, not only being able to learn more about my religion and faith, but being able to connect to other people and still have friends with other people. But I would say the biggest part that it's impacted me is that the fact that I was a camper and now I'm a counselor, and I get to help other people in the same way I was helped.
You kind of need something to keep you on course, and all the volunteers that came over from Lincoln Christian College and a few from Ozark and the church leaders from the area churches, just instilling values and into the young people, and it's just a special place that God works all summer long, and just glad it's still here and growing and worth every investment we can make into it.
Little Galilee has impacted my faith journey by the relationships that I made throughout my years at being Little Galilee. As a camper, as a staff member, a counselor, and now as a mom, getting to see just how God has used all of those different relationships. And while those relationships aren't the same as they were 20 years ago, they're still memories and a part of me. And now I get to extend that to my son and continue on the faith journey that Little Galilee has helped instill in me. And I think it's just a beautiful, full circle moment.
Our world has changed dramatically over the last 70 years since Little Galilee began its very first summer of summer camp. In 1955, minimum wage was 75 cents per hour. A loaf of bread cost 18 cents, and a dozen eggs cost 61 cents. But the one thing that hasn't changed is the number of eternal ripples that leave these campgrounds year after year. We have grown from 87 campers in 1955 to 2,161 campers in 2025. Praise God for the eternal impact Little Galilee continues to make in the lives of youth campers, families, and adults on these holy grounds where campers of all generations come to take intentional steps towards Jesus. Today, our church camp continues to thrive, evolving with the times, yet rooted in the same mission, to create sacred space where each generation can hear God's voice, often for the very first time.
It started with a gift, a holy dream. 28 acres of hope and green. 1953, the vision came alive, with hearts aligned and faith to drive. They built a lake, they built a place where love would shine and truth would stay. The first two cabins still remain, faithfulness and goodness in His name. Every nail, every prayer, Little Galilee. No debt, just grace. We've walked this road with churches near and saints who sow. From 1 week strong to 16 more, each summer opens heaven's door. 16 buildings, 5 new ways to show God's love in all our days. But through it all our purpose stays to lead the youth in Jesus' ways. Every soul, every year, God has met his people here. Little Galilee, where faith grows free, where hearts are changed and eyes can see. From every song to every prayer, God's presence fills the open air. We're rising strong, we're rooted deep in love that's wide and mercy sweet. We're living loud for all to see at Little Galilee. And we believe the best is still ahead. 70 years and still we're led, generation after generation, a rising fire, a holy nation. Whoa! Little Galilee, where faith grows free, where hearts are changed and eyes can see. From bonfire nights to morning praise, we lift his name through all our days. We're rising strong, we're rooted deep in love that's wide and mercy sweet. We're living loud for all to see at Little Galilee.